COPPHE, stand for Africa.
All right, welcome back. And we are seated. When you are seated, you know it's about to get down on very serious conversations. And this morning, I'm joined by someone who has been so common on your screens. Most of you know him as an entertainer, but today we are having him as a lawmaker in Nairobi County. Allow me to have DNG introduce himself too, because if I do the introduction, it's going to be a long one.
No, you can try.
Karibu sana to our studios this morning.
Asante.
Thank you so much for making time.
It's my pleasure, Sylvia. Good morning to you.
Good
morning to your viewers. My name is Davidson DNG Ngibwini. I'm the area MCA for Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, which is one of the 5 wards in Kibra constituency. I'm an MCA in Nairobi County, and happy to be here.
Karibu sana. Now, away from now your art history, let's come back to now where you are now, our leader. And our topic today, we are talking about Unpacking County leadership. Of course, this is from the very bottom of it. We are having the members of County Assembly who are supposed to be keeping the governors of the whole county in check based on different projects and all that. Now, help us understand what exactly is your role and what have you encountered with the public, what they ask you and you're like, you're siyangu, you're
MCA. So the MCA's role is divided into 3 parts. There is oversight, and oversight really has to do with keeping the county in check, as you said, or the county executive in check for that matter, because the county government is split into 2. There is the county executive arm of government, which is headed by the governor, and then there's a county assembly, which is the assembly where MCAs go to represent the interests of the electorate. So we're split into 2, and our role is, from an oversight perspective, has to do with just ensuring that everything is going according to plan or according to law. For example, when you're doing budget making, for example, there is the PFM Act that acts as a guide and stipulates the budget making process, the budget making timelines, what is required, etc. Then when you appropriate budgets, you have to now oversight and see, are these budgets being utilized in the manner in which they were, we passed the budget expecting these monies to be utilized. Sometimes you find there's pilferage. Sometimes you find there's misappropriation. I think in Nairobi County, we saw one of our officers being arrested by EACC officers, and he had the 65 million shillings in cash in a house. So it's very evident that Nairobi County is a crime scene. So that is one of the responsibilities. Another responsibility is legislation. So legislation has to do with lawmaking. So in county, we have bills. We have acts, which Kitambo used to be known as bylaws. And then we also have regulations that operationalize the acts. So even the finance bill, like we have in national government, we have a finance bill for county, because the finance bill allows us to spend money and to generate money. So that legislation role has to do with ensuring that laws are made and laws are sound. Then apart from that, we also have representation. Representation is very simple. It has to do with the MCA representing the electorate in his or her ward. So Nairobi County has 85 wards, and Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, which I represent, is one of the 85 wards. So you find that each ward has different issues, each ward has different priorities, each ward has different challenges. So it's the MCA's responsibility to take in the demands from wananchi and the concerns from the ward level on the priorities, be they infrastructure, development, etc., service level requirements, things like water or the lack of water, lighting, garbage that is all over the city, and synthesize that and represent that in the County Assembly of Nairobi. And there are very many tools that we use. Of course, we have the plenary itself, which is when we convene in the afternoon, of course, led by a speaker, and then we do debates and we table motions. That's one of the instruments we have. We have statements, we have petitions. So it's pretty involving. And then we also have committees where every MCA is in various committees. For example, there's a health committee, there's culture, there's planning, there's trade that oversees markets. So it's quite a busy job description. Yes.
Now let's get to talk about money, because I understand that from the budget making process, you are the ones who begin with that. Now, at what point does this budget making process turn out to be something that it's now a promise to the citizens? Because I understand that you can make a promise or you can make a budget, but then it's hairudi with positive feedback. So at what point do you now get the confidence to tell your people that, you see, this is going to be coming to the constituents?
It's a loaded question. So budget making is a lengthy process, and it without getting into too much legal jargon, from in a layman's perspective, so the budget is prepared by the county executive, which is the executive arm of the county government, headed by the governor, and then the budget estimates are submitted to the assembly. And then it is committed to the Finance and Budget and Appropriations Committee, and then the different sectoral committees, because you find that as much as there's a finance committee in the assembly, you'll find that that budget is populated from other sectors. For example, the health sector has its own budget line. Community services, things like disaster, things like culture, trade, tourism, etc., all have different budget lines. So all those sectoral committees sit, deliberate, and look into that budget in a collaborative manner with county executive representatives from that sector, and then compile their needs. And then the needs from every sector are submitted to the Finance and Budget and Appropriations Committee, which then compiles the entire budget for the county, can remove some budget lines, can reduce, can add, can amend, etc. So that's how it works. And then the budget report and the budget estimates are submitted now by the chairman of the Finance and Budget Appropriations Committee on the floor of the Assembly, and then the MCAs debate and pass what you call an appropriation bill, which is then now taken to the governor for signing. So it becomes an act. And then based on that, then the county government can now generate revenue based on the projections that we've given and the revenue raising measures that we've approved as an assembly, and then can also spend. So it goes two ways. It's like your own budget in the house. Kuna ile pesa unategemea kuingiza kutoka KUTV na kuna venye umepanga kuitumia. So now the disconnect happens in several ways. One, you find that in our projections we are normally overzealous. We're never pragmatic and honest with the people of Nairobi, which is an unfortunate thing. In fact, when we were debating the budget in the Assembly of Nairobi, we discussed that because you see, like last financial year for that matter, we generated 15.4 billion shillings. So now if we say we're going to generate 24 billion, it's not possible. It's not pragmatic. You know what I mean? Like, where is the extra 10 billion going to come from? Yet we've not increased any taxes, any levies, and any charges. So it's a fallacy. So you find that's why you hear statements like there's a budget deficit. I know you've heard that over and over again. It's because when you're doing the budgeting, you're not being honest with yourself. For example, it's like you earn a salary of 50 Gs and then you're budgeting for 100 Gs. Of course, you'll have a budget deficit, isn't it? Yeah. The honest thing should be, if we are seeing that last year we generated 15.4 billion, we should cap it at that 15.4 billion, or at the very least increase it by a very small margin. But if we add another 10B, for sure, we're not going to get the money. And if we procure based on that budget projection, we're not going to be able to pay the service providers, the suppliers, and the contractors who do the works for us. And then we go into pending bills. For your information, the pending bills for the last 3 years, since elections, are now 61 point something B. You understand?
I understand.
And we found our pending bills at about 20 billion from NMS. So now the governor, Sakaja, has generated 61 billion in pending bills. Those are unpaid payments. That it's money we owe suppliers, it's money we owe contractors, it's money we owe service providers. And these are people in debt. These are people now who have had their assets being charged by banks and by Shylocks. These are people who took loans. These are people now who are running away from CRB and from debt collectors. These are people who've had to close their businesses. They've had to let go of their employees. We have documented cases of people who have gone into depression and people who have committed suicide because of lack of payment by Nairobi County. So it's an absolute sham that is happening there. It's so bad such that contractors now do not want to transact with Nairobi because they know they'll not be paid. The only ones who are paid are those ones who are ready to go to give out 10% or 20% commission kickback to the governor and his cronies. For legal fees, they are being asked to part with 50% of the legal charges for them to be paid. It's unfair. And for me, I'm one of the champions. In fact, I last week, I tabled a motion in the assembly that passed where we are demanding that in the next 90 days, the governor table a plan of how he's going to ensure that these pending bills are cleared, because we have a zero pending bill policy. That it's a commitment we made when we got into power. It is also something that is being championed at the National Treasury, because these are people, these are human beings who are in debt, and we have the legal and financial obligation to pay them.
Now, talk to us about there's this report that Nairobi collected, the 15.3 billion that you've mentioned, but then the spending was up to, I think, 13.8 billion. So you are raising questions of, if we have this excess, where are these things not happening in the county, where are pending bills not paid? Where have you reached with that?
Exactly. You know, I tabled a statement or a request for statement on the floor of the assembly where I was challenging the finance and finance, budget and appropriations committee chairman to look into that matter. I was demanding what you call a utility report. Because if the governor has said he has collected 15.4 billion, we want to understand where is that money and how has that money been spent, because we're not seeing the money going into the hands of these suppliers and contractors and service providers. You get? It does not make sense for us. And apart from that, on-source revenue collection, we also have the exchequer remittances from National Treasury. They give us about 1.5 thereabout every month. Right? So where is the money going? We don't know where the money is going, hence why I tabled that statement, because it's part of our oversight duty. So I'm expecting now that the finance, we had reorganized our committees and that has been reconstituted. So now that they're back, we expect the chairman to table that report on the floor of assembly. Then we interrogate it, because I can table a list of contractors who have never been paid.
Now, from what I see is that the governor is not doing so good.
He's not. I work Nairobi. I work kusema kweli. Look at the headlines. He's the worst performing governor in terms of development budgeting utilization. Yes, in fact, let me tell you, the reason why Nairobi County had not passed the budget on time is because we flagged issues. One of the issues I raised was that we had not hit the 30% development threshold as required in the PFM Act. PFM is Public Finance Management Act of 2012. And we had not, we had misappropriated, actually he had misappropriated the Dishina County School Feeding Program budget. 1 billion shillings, he had put it in development budget line rather than it being a recurrent vote, which is illegal. And we refused to pass it that way because we are not fools. We went to school and we have a duty to show fidelity to the people of Nairobi, because these are people's taxes, right?
Now this brings me to the question of your independence as members of county assembly, because last year around, was it November, September, you were to impeach.
That was the second impeachment. There had been a first one.
But now comes my question: where is your independence? Because apparently we had the party leader ODM and the late party leader ODM bringing you together and telling you, look at the bigger picture. So where is your independence when it comes to oversight? Because apparently there are forces that control how you react. despite all these complaints that things are not working in Nairobi?
You're very right. We don't have absolute independence. We do not, especially in Nairobi County, where it's this, what you say or call the seat of government, meaning that national government has a lot of interest in this city and in how this city is governed. And the only reason why there was an intervention is because the intelligence reports had shown that because we had wanted to impeach Governor Sakaja, and then when we had a conversation amongst the different political factions, that's our majority and minority side, which is Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, Azimio were of the opinion that if we impeach Governor Sakaja, we'll be handing over to the deputy, who is a Kikuyu, and then it became that this is Wamunyoro. You understand? So it became tribal politics. That is the nature of our politics in this country, which is pretty unfortunate. But we actually discussed that, and we said, okay, then let's impeach both of them. So that the speaker, who is Luo and who is friendly to Azimio, then can take over the reins, and then we go into a by-election. And then it's free for all. But the intelligence reports were showing that if we went into a by-election, Kenya Kwanza and Broadbase would lose that election at that time, because the sentiment was that Wamunyoro, quote unquote, would take that seat. And that's the reason why the head of state, the President Ruto, called our side, which is Kenya Kwanza, because was elected on a UDA ticket. And then the late Raila Amolo Odinga called his troops, Azimio. And they had the conversation, and we were pronounced upon that we should not have a war in the city. In fact, the words were, hatutaki vita Nairobi. Tunataka mambo itulie katika jiji ya Nairobi.
Right. It's very hard to have.
Yes, so that was an unfortunate situation. Obviously, as an MCA, you cannot take on a head of state. We don't have that kind of machinery. It would be a tall order. So, The Art of War by Sun Tzu states that when you go to war and when you take on a battle, you should have a probability of winning. You should see the end game. You should see how to win that. And if you do not see victories possible, you should be able to retreat or at least pivot and live to fight another day. So we accepted our fate, but out of that we were able to renegotiate some terms with the head of state. I'll give you an example. All the issues we had tabled were looked into. For example, issues like garbage collection. You can imagine that the Governor Sakaja is not able to collect garbage in Nairobi. In fact, wananchi are calling the heaps of garbage you see in our mitaa Mount Sakaja. And now garbage is being collected, guess by who? By national government. Imagine. When you look at lighting, Nairobi County has not procured light since the year 2024. It's the green city in the dark. Walk around at night, you'll see just darkness, except CBD. Like the government only invests in CBD. Cabros, CBD. Drainage, CBD. Lighting, CBD. CBD is 1 out of 85 wards. Go to the neighboring wards, you see. Tembea huko Kamkunji, tembea Gikosh, tembea Marikiti.
Now, this is what gave birth to the
cooperation agreement.
Cooperation agreement.
Yes, it is.
Now, with this cooperation agreement, I believe that it is working more efficiently now that the government is doing most roads. Of course, there is Kura and NTSA. But of course, the government is
Kenha.
Yes, and Kenha. Sorry. So the government is doing most of this works with
national
garbage collecting and
lighting.
Water, lighting, and all this. Does this pose a threat to devolution?
I wouldn't call it a threat. I think what national government has done, it has exposed Governor Sakaja's incompetence because he's unable to do the work. It's not about devolution, Sylvia. Look at our neighboring counties. Look at Murang'a, headed by Governor Irungo Kangata. He has a program called Smart City Program, doing so well, such that now Murang'a has, streets being done with cabro and, tarmac, as well as concrete in some sections, especially where the gradient is pretty steep, especially the farm roads, right? If you look at Kiambu, the same. In fact, Kiambu has, revived its own asphalt plant. Well, Nairobi has its own asphalt plant as well, which had been functioning the first 1-2 years of Governor Sakaja's leadership. And then all of a sudden, he went to slumber, deep slumber. It is not even sleep. Jalala amengorota kabisa. So you see that it's working in other counties. How is it that Governor Wamatangi for Kiambu has been able to install 12,000 streetlights. They have a smaller budget than Nairobi. How is it?
So how
It's just the leadership, Sylvia. You see, there are people who can earn 200,000 and you don't see the 200,000 in their lives. They drink all of it. They misuse all of it. They don't save. They don't invest. Wanaharibu mali, wanafuja mali. Yet there's somebody who can earn 70,000. And that person is prudent. They cut their coat according to the size of their cloth. They are pragmatic. They are sensitive to the future, and they save their money and they invest their money and they work and build brick by brick. That's the difference. And you'll find the 70K person is, in the long term is more successful than the 200K person who is asleep and misusing the opportunity that was given to them by God. Yes, so that is the state we're in, and national government has exposed that. In fact, now we're asking ourselves, do we need a governor in Nairobi? And that is a tough question, because there's a time we didn't have a governor. We had ceded functions to national government. So ideally, that was a governor without power, right? In the previous regime, I'm talking about Governor Sonko, who gave over responsibilities, then was impeached. Then we had Canaan without powers, right? That's just a president, that's just a figurehead. Because if you don't have power, if you don't have the functions, and we all know that budgets follow functions, then what are you doing in office? So there was that situation, and we came out of that situation, and people are asking us, should we go back to that situation? I think it would be unfair to judge based on Sakaja, because Sakaja is not the ultimate. There are other people who can run this city, and I'm grateful that now we're coming to an election. It's August, so it's 1 year to the election. Right, and we're looking forward to removing Sakaja from office, because he has proven to us that he's unable to do the work, he's incompetent, he has no desire to bring about development in this city, right? He's just a PR machine. And we want to give opportunities to others to come and lead, because it's possible, and Nairobians have potential. And this, issue of devolution versus handing over the city to the control of national government should not be looked at through the lens of one person's behavior and one person's inability to be the leader and the governor that we expect him to be.
All right. If someone listens to you, someone might not imagine that you both come from the same party.
We do, but it doesn't matter.
But away from that,
you see, our party is United Democratic Alliance, meaning that it's a democratic party. And we don't have to all agree, and we don't have to see things the same way. Plus, my responsibility as an MCA is to call out the incompetence in the county executive headed by the governor. That is the reason I accrue a salary and allowances. You understand? That I was not sent to the assembly by the party. I'm not a nominated member of county assembly. I am an elected member of county assembly, representing a ward with 30,000 registered voters who have aspirations and who are facing challenges. When we have stalled projects in Woodley, they don't ask UDA, they ask DNG. When we have suppliers not being paid, and therefore we cannot have service delivery, we cannot have garbage being collected, we cannot have sewer being sorted out, we cannot have lights being installed, they call DNG. They don't call our party leader.
All right.
So I beg your pardon, Sylvia. My job is kumweka ule kwa microscope na kumulika.
All right, all right. Now let's bring this to an end, DNG, because time is really not on our side. This I'd love for you to respond really briefly. The MCA's positions and MP's positions are currently, the youths have this narrative that I'm not calling you watu wazee, but
mimi si mzee bana, mimi ni Gen Z.
Usiseme nimepita hapo. But I'm saying that it should be brought down to the young people, and I've seen so many young people saying that they want to have these positions. But you've already declared.
Sylvia, do I look old?
No, I didn't say you're old. Don't crucify me. So with this in mind, now that you want to run for a second term, you are a team 2 term for the other side of the town.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the young people, especially those who want to get in politics? You got into politics at the first time you were elected. So any advice you have for those upcoming politicians, briefly?
Yeah, so actually I vied as a youth. I'm no longer in the youth bracket, technically, but I'm still young at heart and vibrant. Yes. I would say that it's brilliant for young people to want to vie, right? And we should never stifle the desire of young people to lead this country, because young people have potential. Even the Bible in Timothy says, let no one look down upon you because of your age. And being young means that you look at things differently. You may not have the experience and the expertise, but there's something you offer. And that something can be harnessed. So I want to encourage anyone who wants to vie, because firstly, it's your democratic right. You have the right as an 18-year-old Kenyan citizen, adult with an ID, to present yourself to the electorate. So what I'd say is that if you're vying, firstly, you need to have an agenda, because we have young people, as we were discussing behind the scenes, that who are vying without a plan. Wanaona kuwa MCA ni form. Kuwa gava ni form, and everybody wants that. Kila mtu anataka hiyo bendera, kila mtu anataka hiyo cheo, crown, nini, power. Ulisikia paka Oburu Odinga atizeja akisema tunataka power. Guys have been in power for very many years and they don't want to relinquish. I was listening to Sifuna over the weekend talking about people who do not want to relinquish power. Power is not relinquished. Power is taken. Do you understand? For me to be MCA Woodley, the guy didn't leave for me the baton. I took it. I went for it. And I talked to the electorate and I campaigned. And I sold them a vision. I sold them a manifesto that I have dutifully delivered step by step by step. In fact, pale nimekwama ni juu governor hajalipa contractors. Na bado tunapambana, si ati tumeachilia. Barabara zingine sasa tumemnyang'anya, tumepeleka kwa national government waifanye wenyewe through Kura and Nairobi Rivers Commission. Hapo ndio imefika Nairobi. So tukifungiwa mlango kama vijana wadogo, sisi ni watu wajanja, tuna navigate mtu wangu. Sawa? Wakifunga dirisha, tunapasua dirisha, tunaingia, tunakaa kwa sitting room. So lazima ukuwe na mpango. If you're vying, ukiweka, unaona tu asana tu poster. Alafu if you are elected, ukipewa hiyo votes, utafanya nini? Yeah, what is your plan? You must have a plan for the next 5 years. For me, I know exactly. I split my agenda into five years. CIDP into ADP. Very simple. And I made sure the priorities of my ward were captured and funded. Right? So to the young person who is thinking about 2027, panga. Fikiria area yako, fikiria zile challenges za area yako, ongea na wananchi, waulize hii area iko na shida gani, package hizo shida na uweke manifesto. But usidanganyane, because sometimes also manifesto inakuanga na uongo mingi hewa. Kama sasa Sakaja anaambia watu ati atatujengia railway iko underground. Sijui itoke CBD ende sijui Islam. You know, acha nikwambie hizo vitu zinawezekana because it's being done in the first world, right? Singapore and other manenos, but not by Sakaja. You see, Sakaja hajaweza kuokota takataka. Siko naelewa. Sakaja hajaweza kusort sewage. Sewage kukinyesha si elino inakaa mgojo uone. Uingie CBD. Inalipukanga paka kiatu inajaa kinyesi. Hiyo ndio Nairobi ya Sakaja. I work. So uniambie tena utachimba uweke train kwa hiyo kinyesi. Ama itapitia wapi? So wewe jiulize tu, drainage, stormwater drainage inalemea Sakaja. Ataweka aje train? Unajua vitu zingine tusiambiwe na Sakaja, tuambiwe na mtu ule atakam 2027, juu lazima tutafute mtu mwingine. Ule sasa tu convince. Tuweke doku wa kitu kama hiyo. Lakini at the current status ni kama wewe. Okay. Ama nifungie hapo.
Fungia hapo because director ananiambia uko muda
director anakuambia tunachoma. Lakini hii show lazima tuambiane ukweli.
All right. I hope to see you once again, DNG, for more conversation, especially how to make Nairobi work, because apparently, according to you, Nairobi is not working. So probably...
And according to you, is it working? You. Junapitianga pale town.
Nimekaribishwa hii town, nimepigwa ngeta mara kadhaa, so we cannot talk about security and every other thing. So thank you so much, DNG, for making time for us this morning. I hope to see you once again, and I hope you get to be re-elected in Woodley. Yes. I hope they believe you.
And on that note, before I exit, I just want to tell the people of Woodley, now penda sana, big shout out to everybody watching online and on television. And naomba kiti yangu ya MCA Woodley ya mara ya pili, yasema DNG two term ya pili ya kijana mdogo, yaweze kuendeleza zile vitu ambazo hatujaweza kumalizia, na tuendelee pia kuendeleza uongozi bora ambayo tunaita servant leadership and good governance.
All right, thank you so much. That one is a retired hype MC, so maneno haya si mageni kwake. So we are taking a very short break. When we come back, we shall be having a conversation on how to better service delivery for Kenyan citizens, especially those who do not have an option of leaving the country and getting citizenship in other countries. Stay tuned for that after the break.
Kenyan NGO. If you would like to read a bit more about us, it is just behind me. But the 7 letters that make up the acronym ACOPPHE, ACOPPHE, stand for Africa Community of Planetary Partners for Health and Environment. So in brief, I want to expound upon our theory of change and some of our core commitments and how they tie to the work that we are doing here today and hopefully far into the future. The first one I want to leverage on is the notion of a